Commander Zethkar studied the tactical display with growing frustration. The holographic battlefield showed the same depressing pattern that had defined the last 3 months of the Terran conflict. Human forces advancing steadily despite overwhelming odds, their primitive kinetic weapons somehow finding gaps in hegemony armor that should have been impossible to exploit. How? The Vrex commander's mandibles clicked in agitation. Their projectile weapons fire crude metal slugs. Our battlesuits can withstand plasma cannons. His aide, a nervous Quillan named Vess, shuffled through data tablets. Intelligence suggests the humans have developed some form of enhanced targeting system, sir. Perhaps quantum computation assistance or... No. Zethkar's 4 eyes narrowed as he zoomed in on a section of the battlefield. Look at this footage from Kepler 442b. The recording showed a human soldier, designation Sierra 7 according to their intercepts, moving through a hegemony stronghold. What Zethkar had initially dismissed as impossible was happening again. The human wasn't using enhanced targeting. He was simply better. Sierra 7 moved like liquid death through the corridor. A hegemony trooper rounded the corner, plasma rifle raised, and the human's projectile weapon barked once. The shot found the microscopic gap between helmet and chest plate, a space barely 2 millimeters wide that should have been impossible to target in combat conditions. But that wasn't the strangest part. As Zethkar watched, Sierra 7's weapon ran dry. Instead of retreating or calling for support like any rational being would, the human dropped his rifle and continued forward, empty-handed. The next hegemony soldier to encounter him was a Thraken heavy assault trooper, 2.5 meters, of muscle, natural armor plating, and cybernetic enhancement. The human looked tiny by comparison, bare skin exposed to the recycled air of the station. What happened next defied everything the hegemony understood about warfare. Sierra 7 ducked under the Thraken's plasma burst and closed distance faster than their combat computers had calculated was possible for an unenhanced biped. His fist connected with a joint in the alien's knee armor. Not the armor itself, but the precise point where 2 plates met. The joint buckled. As the massive warrior stumbled, the human's other hand found the emergency release for the helmet seal. The Thraken's own armor became his tomb. Impossible, Vess whispered. No organic being could calculate those impact points in real time without cybernetic assistance. Zethkar replayed the sequence. The human's movements weren't the fluid perfection of computer-assisted targeting. They were something else entirely. Intuitive, almost organic in their efficiency. Like watching a predator that had evolved specifically to hunt armored prey. Pull up all available data on human physiology, Zethkar ordered. The files made for disturbing reading. Humans had evolved on a death world where everything was trying to kill them. Their bodies were persistence hunters, designed to track prey across vast distances until it collapsed from exhaustion. Their brains were pattern-matching engines refined by millions of years of warfare against creatures larger and stronger than themselves. But most unsettling was their social structure. Unlike the hegemony's rigid caste system, humans were pack hunters who shared information. When one human learned to exploit a weakness, they all learned. Sir, Vess interrupted his reading. We're receiving reports from across the front. Human forces are adapting. They're targeting our armor's weak points with increasing efficiency. Zethkar pulled up the battle feeds. It was true. Humans who had never encountered Quillan defense suits were somehow finding the thermal exhaust ports. Soldiers facing Vrex warriors for the first time were striking nerve clusters that even hegemony medical databases listed as classified information. They were learning, sharing, evolving their tactics in real time across light years of space. How long until our research division can develop countermeasures? Zethkar asked. Conservative estimate? 18 months for new armor designs, another 12 for deployment. Zethkar's mandibles clicked in what his species considered bitter laughter. In 18 months, they'll have learned 18 new ways to kill us. A priority alert flashed on his console. Sierra 7 had been spotted again, this time on the orbital defense platform above their current position. Security footage showed the human moving through corridors filled with the hegemony's best soldiers. He wasn't even breathing hard. Of Rex, squadron leader fired a full plasma burst at point-blank range. Sierra 7 twisted impossibly, the superheated gas barely singing his hair. His hand shot out, fingers finding the exact pressure point that would cause the alien's grip to reflexively open. The plasma rifle clattered to the floor as the human's other hand delivered a precise strike to the Vrex's primary respiratory intake. The squadron leader dropped, unconscious but alive. Sierra 7 stepped over him and continued deeper into the station. "He's not even trying to kill them," Vess observed with growing horror. Zethkar understood. It wasn't mercy. It was worse. The human was studying them, learning. Each encounter taught him something new about hegemony physiology that would be shared with every other human in the fleet. They weren't fighting soldiers. They were fighting an entire species that treated war like a science experiment. The final footage showed Sierra 7 standing in the station's command center, surrounded by unconscious hegemony officers. He looked directly into the security camera and spoke in accented but fluent hegemony standard. "Your armor is impressive. Your tactics are sound. But you made one critical error in your calculations." He held up his bare hands. "You assumed we needed weapons to be dangerous." The transmission cut to static. Zethkar stared at the dark screen for a long moment, then activated his ship's communication array. "Open a channel to Hegemony High Command," he ordered. "Prepare a formal request for armistice negotiations." "Sir?" Vess looked confused. "We still outnumber them 3-1. Zethkar thought about Sierra 7's hands. Soft, unarmored, vulnerable, flesh that had somehow become the most efficient weapons on the battlefield. "Numbers don't matter," he said quietly. "When you're fighting a species that treats their own bodies as adaptive weapons platforms." The war was over. The hegemony just hadn't realized it yet.